everyone into the same values and giving everyone the same values for processing and evolution, but this wasn't recognized or appreciated in the prevailing egoism. Thus, we are forced to act according to purely earthly values, as these are also grasped and understood by the group members. But this means that our entire mission suffers damages through this and that everything will take much longer than what was anticipated and calculated. Patar says that is of correctness, and Quetzal speaks entirely in accordance with my sense. There's just one thing that I don't understand in his explanations, namely that he speaks of a cannibal. Billy says that is quite simple. My son Quetzal and I have our pleasure in calling my wife by this name. Patar says, ha 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 ha. You and ha 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 ha. That's just like the two of you. Ha 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 ha. That is really amusing, despite the deep seriousness of the situation. Ha ha ha. You are good, really. Cannibal, ha ha ha. That really sounds very good. May I also? Will you ask your wife if I may also call her that in my old age? It also gives me pleasure, cannibal. Ha 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 ha. The name really has something in it. Billy says, calm down, my son, I will ask already. Surely she will be in agreement with it. We also have another barbarian, in addition to my cannibal. Patar says, ha ha ha, and who should that be? Billy says, Maria, the ruler of herd bosses of Engelbert. Patar says, Quetzal says, ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Patar says, why are you laughing? Quetzal says, I find your curiousness so amusing. Patar says it's probably time for us to go, for apparently, can we no longer find reasonable forms of conversation. Moreover, I've explained what had to be explained, except that in several days, we will bring you very exact instructions for the individual group members and their sphere of activity, as this was announced to you by my daughter. Billy says you spoil sport, but apparently, you do, nevertheless, understand a joke, my son. Patar says we also have a sense of humor and understanding for that, even if yours is often strange. But now, till we meet again, my friend, although I could be several times your father rather than your son. Billy says, Patar, you're as good as gold. Bye then, and greet your people very cordially. You too, Quetzal, farewell. Quetzal says till we meet again, and see you soon. Billy says bye together, you humor dudes. Patar says don't forget to give everyone very dear greetings. Quetzal says that should also be my wish, and greet your cannibal in love for me. Billy says you human eater, you probably want to make me alienated, but now, bye, until we meet again. Intermediate conversation 108th contact to the exclusion of the public for the time being. Billy says, Patar, in the last few days, I came across something that makes me think. Actually, I already figured out the results for it last year, but these weren't then mentioned in the predictions for the year 1978 because I thought it would be too dangerous. Patar says then express yourself about it. What about this depresses you, and what does it concern? Billy says this doesn't depress me, and it concerns Pope Paul VI. Last year, my probability calculations yielded that he would have to die this year. Now, this calculation has simply bothered me recently, which is why I tried to get more exact and more precise data, and through this, I encountered a very specific date and a very specific time. Now, I just wonder if my calculation doesn't have any mistakes and if everything is actually right. Patar says then give me the data. Billy says okay, see here, I wrote it down there. The day of death is the 6th of August, 1978. I've calculated the time, with the result of 2040 hours and 13 seconds. The death, according to my calculations, should occur by a heart attack, in which case the body will give up its function as a result of an oxygen deficiency. Patar says you were very thorough in your calculations because you gave me the same data that we ourselves already fathomed years ago through an analysis by apparatus. But do you also know the place where the spirit of the man will leave the body? Billy says if my calculations are right, then, and if I describe the place correctly, then it must be the Pope's summer residence, Castel Gandolfo. Patar says that is also of absolute correctness, but say nothing about that and also explain nothing about that to the members of your group. It could lead to dangerous effects. It was also very wise of you, that you mentioned nothing about these matters in the annual predictions. Billy says I thought that myself. But I also concealed other things. Patar says you will have your reasons for that. Billy says I do have those, and I will also remain silent. But many dear thanks for your confirmation. Anyway, I'm quite happy that I've calculated the data correctly. Patar says that is understandable to me. Just continue to work in this form. Billy says I'm already doing that, have no fear. In any case, many thanks again. The end.